First of all, welcome to Crafting Your Professional Portfolio. I'm Alvalyn Lundgren, your instructor, and this is our very first video lecture, and we're going to look at motives and goals before we get into actual working on your portfolio. So we're laying a foundation for the decisions you'll make regarding your portfolio and how you're going to promote it, and even what kind of work you are looking for. First, I wanted to talk a little bit about the course and how it's structured and give you a little more background about me, because you'll probably want to know who I am. The goal of this course is that you're going to develop a professional portfolio for entrance into the career field. And the professional portfolio will showcase your unique point of view. So you'll walk away from this course with that portfolio, as well as resources, promotional pieces, and a game plan. Because having a portfolio is not enough. You need to know what to do with it. So we'll talk about that. Obviously, there's going to be video presentations or lectures, if you want to call them that. You'll have assignments every week and then a final presentation at the end of the course. You're going to be doing research and inquiry, which means that you're going beyond the scope of the course and out into the internet and beyond that to gather information and inspiration. We will have discussions, and definitely you'll have feedback on your work and on your portfolio in the form of critique. One of the things I'm going to emphasize about this course is that your portfolio needs to reflect you and your own unique approach. It should not necessarily reflect where you went to school. That's an important point of view to take. I've developed a number of portfolios over the years. The portfolio is always an evolving, shifting thing. It is never totally finished. As you acquire new work and accomplish new things, take on new skills, your portfolio obviously will change. So I started out as an illustrator. My degree is in illustration out of Art Center, and my portfolio was oriented toward children's books. I still create narrative illustration, but it shifted more into portraiture and illustrated portraits and just general narrative. But I earn the main part of my living as a visual brand designer and communication designer. I help clients establish businesses and get them out in the marketplace and help them manage their brands across a variety of platforms. So I create the visuals and help with strategy so that they can build their businesses. So my creative studio is Alvalyn Creative, and I chose that name finally after years of trying to figure out what I wanted to call my business, because creative opens up the doors for a variety of things. I can design, I can create illustration, I can do character design, I can even write, and all of those skills and disciplines come into play in how I serve my clients. And I also teach. I teach not only with Otis, but I teach with UCLA Extension and with Art Center, and have also taught individually and mentored students. So teaching is very much a part of who I am and my skill set and my giftings. So I both create and teach others how to create and also how to build their freelance businesses. I created Freelance Road Trip, which is an online course, independent. It's on my own platform, and basically is meant to help creative freelancers establish a solid business and sustain that business over the long term. I like my coffee straight up. I pretty much always have a sketchbook with me, so at any opportunity, no matter where I am, I can draw. I don't consider myself a rock star in terms of being known beyond my own sphere of influence. But within my sphere of influence, I help people accomplish their goals. So my expectations for you as being part of this course is that you show up, that you participate in discussions, that you ask questions, that you do the work that's asked of you, because if you don't do the work, you won't develop the portfolio, and that you not only start well, but you finish well. This is our roadmap, and basically we will start by identifying motives and goals. We'll begin work on developing a effective portfolio, and that will occur throughout the course. It'll be a process over the 10 weeks of this term. You're going to create a branded resume which fits the kind of work you do, and also a cover letter You'll design your business card and at least one promotional piece. You'll be looking at portfolio websites and also develop your own or structure your own for later development. You're going to create email and direct mail promotions, and we'll address social media and in-person networking. According to the American Institute of Graphic Arts, about 89% of all jobs are acquired through face-to-face networking. So that's something to keep in mind. This is a graded course. 50% of your grade is based on you showing up and being involved, and 50% is based on your assignments. This being an online course, your participation is key in moving the class forward. You are an integral part of your success and everybody else's success in the class because we all need your feedback. I mentioned earlier that you'll have weekly assignments, and if you need more time, you can request an extension of 1 week. You have to request it in writing, and it needs to come to me at student@alvalin.com, and send it to me prior to the due date and time. So if something is due the second Monday of class at 11:59 p.m. and you're not going to be able to make that deadline, hit me up prior to that deadline if you need an extension, and you'll have an extra week on that. And I say this outright because sometimes students will, first of all, assume that late work is okay, which is not. They'll maybe also assume that they shouldn't turn anything in because they can't get it in on time, so they just resign the assignment. Assignment extensions are only for 7 days. If you don't get it turned in within that 7-day period or by that 7-day deadline, it is then late and subject to a grade reduction. Late assignments are marked down 1 full grade point for each week late. If it's more than 2 weeks late, I don't even consider it. So basically, it will receive a fail. Bottom line is, if you need more time, ask for it. There's no reason that I wouldn't grant time. Other course policies are available to read and review on the course platform, and of course will be available to you all through the term. So if you have questions about anything, check there first, and then if you still have questions, by all means, ask me, send me an email at student@alvalin.com. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about are your driving motivators, those things that are basically compelling you to pursue a creative career, to develop a portfolio in the first place, and then to go take that portfolio out into the world and find a place to land and be productive and create significant and relevant work. So one of the first things you need to look at is, are you job-oriented or are you entrepreneurial? Do you want to find employment and have a sense of job security where you get a steady paycheck and you are working with a team in a team environment and you are contributing in a particular role into that team and creating the work of the team? Or are you entrepreneurial? Do you want to find your own road? Do you want to work with clients? Do you want to build your own business and be master of your own destiny? That's one of the first questions you need to answer. Additionally, you want to look at, are you looking for a job with your portfolio or are you looking for a career? And a job is something you do to earn money. It may not be your happy place. It's something you do to make a living. A career, on the other hand, is something that you enter into for the long term. And you can go from job to job within a career, or client to client, or do one thing over here, do another thing over here simultaneously. But if you look at the portfolio as a means, as an investment into a long-term career, then you have a different point of view with it than if you are just trying to land a job. I have always been entrepreneurial, and I've always known that. Even in school, that was a very obvious understanding about myself. I wanted to work out of my home and create work that I enjoyed doing. And I really wanted to forge my own path. That has always been the thing that's made me happy. And that's pretty much the thing I've always done, and I love what I do. You might be entirely different, or you might be very similar. So what I'd like you to do is take a few moments and imagine yourself 12 months from now. What are you doing? What are you accomplishing? Where are you working? What kind of work are you doing? Then imagine yourself 3 years from now. Are you still doing the same thing that you're doing 12 months from now? In this day and age, we shift and we pivot in response to what's happening with technology, what's happening in the job market, what's happening in culture. You can envision the kind of life and the kind of work you want to do and tailor your portfolio to that vision to get you where you want to go. Also consider, what is your best contribution to the world? What is your purpose? How are you driven to help people? What are the things that motivate you to move forward, that bring you satisfaction as you work with people and interact with them? The fact is that you are uniquely endowed with a set of gifts. You have been investing time and effort into those talents, and now you have a body of work from which you're going to craft your portfolio and take that out into the world and use it to land on the right kind of work for you. So you can think about it this way. The gifts and the talents and the bents that you have are uniquely tailored to help somebody else, to produce something that's going to make a difference to somebody. We hear a lot these days about following your passion, following your dreams. And sometimes that's kind of a misplaced understanding, because sometimes we can be passionate about things that aren't productive or that aren't quite right. They don't quite fit us. I play guitar, but I'm never going to be a Caleb Quay or an Eric Clapton. So I can only pursue that so far. It was never quite my thing. So my recommendation is not that you follow your passion, but you follow your bent. You follow how you're wired. And you become passionate about that because how you're wired and the things that you do that fit it actually create that passion moving forward. And it's a sustainable thing. It's a sustainable mindset for you. Another thing about creating your own way is that you don't want to copy someone else. Your success and satisfaction don't come from copying. Certainly, you've been inspired. You've looked to other people as a source of inspiration. But your best work should come from your own authentic, true voice. So again, your portfolio should reflect who you are, not where you went to school, and not who your inspirations are. So all of this comes down to discovering what you're all about if you don't already know, or clarifying if you already have an idea. Your driving motives put together with the things that fulfill you create an overall why. It's a vision for your life, a mission, and that really helps you clarify the kind of work that goes into your portfolio and the kind of job that you want. Actually, in reverse, it clarifies the kind of work you want to do, and then you tailor your portfolio toward that. It's not an archive of work you've done. That's really not its purpose. And we'll discuss that more in the second session. It's something to start looking at now. If you know what your why is, if you know your reason, then you have something to hang your hat on, even when things seem to go sideways for you. And sometimes they will. To understand your why, you need to understand not just what your driving motives are, just kind of how you're wired, but also what matters to you. So you can ask yourself this question: if you had no limits, if you had no barriers, if nothing was holding you back, what would you do? What kind of work do you want to be known for? And how do you want to be remembered? When you leave a job or you finish a project with a client, how do you want the client and your coworkers to remember you? What do you want to be known for among your peers and colleagues? And it's also a good idea to understand how you're wired. I'm an introvert. I work really well in solitude. I can do deep work and meaningful work all by myself. I go out to collaborate and talk with clients and bounce ideas, but the real work happens when I come back to my studio and I do what I call burrowing in. I burrow in on a project and I get it done. Then I take it back out and then I come back in to work on it again. It's the way I'm wired. I'm organizational, and so I'm not just creative. I'm highly logical in terms of how I approach information and process. This works really well when I'm working with clients because I'm able to manage projects as well as create the work. I am very much self-directed. So that's how I'm wired. The question for you is, how are you wired? What's your best working method? Are you better in a group? Are you better alone? And then what do you really do well? Everybody's got their own thing. So what is your thing? What's your secret sauce? What do you do really well? Another question I'd like you to answer, or actually it's not a question, fill in the blank. You've enrolled in this course for a reason, so enrolling in this course is your first step toward what? What's your goal? Understanding what you're all about, understanding your driving motivators, gives you the ability to create and achieve goals, and create the right goals. The goals that you create for yourself are not the goals that I would create for myself. One thing about setting goals is that when you set them, you're going to meet up with significant resistance. It happens all the time, pretty much to everyone across the board. There's always a reason to not follow through on the goal. Oh, you can't afford it. Oh, you don't have the time. Oh, you've got to, take care of this first. You've got to get this done first. There's a lot of resistance that comes up when you start out on a goal path. So you need to know why goals matter. And again, it goes back to, if you don't accomplish this thing or that thing or this set of goals, how is that going to affect your life? How is that going to affect others around you? If you accomplish the goal, or let me put it this way, when you accomplish the goal, what's going to open up on the other side of the goal that isn't open now? Another thing about goals is that you have to have an emotional connection to them. There has to be a strong reason for you to move forward toward them. And that emotional connection is not just in getting it done, but there's a significant release of something or a significant transformation that you go through in the process of achieving a goal. Goals are very much related to growth. I found this to be true in my life. If I decide to do something and I move forward in doing it, the process of getting it done, that journey, changes me. It opens up capacity. It opens up ability. If I take on a project I'm not sure about, but I think I can do it, I step out and start into it, and along the way I realize, yes, I can do this. I develop competence, but also confidence. Alrighty, so let's take a look at what SMART goals are. Alright, so let's get prepped to do some goal setting for this course. And first, let's look at what a goal is. So a goal is a thing you put your effort toward. It's a defined result. An aspiration is different. It's a hope of achieving something. It's, gee, I'd really like to do this. But the wish or the desire to do something is not a goal until you make it a goal. And that's a really important difference to understand. We can aspire to do great work, have an amazing job, and work with certain kinds of clients. But until we set a plan of action in place, we don't have a goal. It's just a dream. So the thing about setting a goal is that it's intentional. Goals are a way of identifying things you want to accomplish and to set up a desired outcome for yourself that you can put effort toward. So setting a goal is placing a target, and then you take aim at it. So wherever you place that target is where you're going to aim. You're not doing things randomly. It enlarges your capacity. It builds your confidence. It builds your ability, your competence. It actually makes you more courageous for future goals. For the purposes of this class, your portfolio needs to have a goal. You have to decide, what do you want your portfolio to do for you, and you will craft your portfolio toward that mission. You also want to think about how goals that you set for your business or for your professional life will fit into the totality of your life. The reality is when you set goals, you should think holistically about your life and not just in terms of business. Here are 6 things that help make for achievable and effective goals. First one is you need to write it down. You won't accomplish anything unless you write it down. Writing it down also helps you kind of make it more concrete. You can look at that thing that you've written down and go, oh yeah, I need to do that. And it makes it something that becomes actionable. A goal also needs to be smart, or should be smart. It's going to be more effective when it's smart, and I'll talk about SMART goals in a moment. They should be relevant. They should be exciting. They should be things that kind of get you enthused, not just in achieving them, but in the process of achieving the goal, there should be inspiration and enthusiasm. Because if they're not exciting, why would you even bother? Share them, but share them selectively. A good reason to work with a mentor or to have a peer group is that you can share your goals and they hold you accountable toward achieving them. They'll check in on your progress, how you're doing. Sometimes they'll even say, how can I help? Reviewing them keeps them top of mind. Review also allows you to make sure that they're still relevant. And that's important because as time goes on, things change. And I've set many goals where 6 months later, I haven't done anything about them. And then I have to sit down and look at them and go, is this really relevant? Because I haven't made the time to try to accomplish this goal. Is it a relevant goal? Is it something I should still be pursuing? It might be the right goal, but the wrong time, or it might be the wrong goal altogether. Reviewing your goals gives you the ability to manage them well and take control of them. Goals should be big, hairy, and audacious. The goals that are really going to be significant in changing your circumstances are going to be big ones. It should be SMART, and SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-based. You want to define your goal in as much detail as possible without starting to break it down into specific tasks or action steps. So instead of saying, I'm going to get a job as a junior designer, you're going to be more specific than that. Where your portfolio is involved is that you want your portfolio to get you a specific sort of job. Clarify it. I will get a full-time job, because there are part-time jobs and there are internships out there, as a junior UX designer at an advertising agency. You want your goals to be measurable, because if they're not measurable, you don't know when you've achieved them. Here's a measurable goal example. I will complete and launch my portfolio website no later than July 1st of this year. You're not creating a grocery list. If you'll notice, each one of these starts with I will, and that's an actionable. You're taking action on something. So in this case, I will apply for 5 UX design jobs by the end of day today. Realistic means that it's sensical for you. You have the ability to accomplish the goal. If it's out of your reach in terms of ability, it's not a goal that makes sense. A goal being realistic deals with your ability to accomplish it within the time frame that you have set for yourself, or within the constraints that you're operating within. A goal without a deadline is just a dream, and dreams are great, but they don't accomplish anything. If you're just dreaming, you won't be doing anything about them. So set deadlines. And then there's the concept of a push goal. And it's not an acronym. You set up a bunch of dominoes and they're just going to stand there and do nothing until you push one of them over, and then everything else falls. So a push goal becomes the catalyst for your achieving all the other goals. To set up your own business, well, one of the first things you need to do is come up with a business plan. So creating that business plan would be the push goal, because after that, everything falls into place according to your business plan. So identifying what that thing is that's going to allow other things to be more easily accomplished, that's the push goal.